This is a short tutorial to explain and simplify how to use the presentations and the matrix to effectively take notes for better understanding and study. Once you've opened up the presentation, go past the introductory pages and begin with the information slides. And when you get the slide, watch the slide and then pause it so you can take the notes on this. For example, you'll want to pause the slide after it's finished because it will automatically go to the next slide sometimes. If it does, just go back to previous and pause the slide so you can take your notes. So this slide here talks about the agri-food chain and the sectors in the industry. So we want to first of all write that down and highlight those things: agriculture, fisheries, and the four sectors there. So that's the information that we would write down from the first slide. We'll go to the next slide. So this one here, that's the information that we have, so we want to just write that information down. Okay, so this slide has about producing plants, we have there. Next slide is about producing animals, so we want to just highlight and write the information. Now be sure to check where you're putting this information. Is it under the word itself? Is it under the explanation and description and examples? And is it under the how and why does this happen? So we'll go to the next slide here, which talks about agriculture and fisheries, the first sector. So this is talking about cereals, dairy, meat, and fisheries, and you can see we've written these things down here, and that information is highlighted at this point. Um, this point. So we write that. Some of that is an explanation, some of them is a how and a why. The next couple of slides also continue with that, and then we talk about the food processing and manufacturing sector, which is here, and that gives more information on this side here. The next slide is about food service and catering, and that information is here. We're going to type that in there. The next one is about the retail sector, so we put that information in. This next sector talks about issues affecting the food industry. I didn't write that down, and I probably should have, but hopefully you can gather that. And you can see that this one is about consumer demands, and they're looking for functional foods, so we highlight that area. This next slide refers to globalization. And the final slide is about recent developments, and that's this area right here. Okay. So having a look at all of this, this is how notes that you should be able to take. So if I were to ask you a question, or there was an exam question about the sectors of the Australian food industry, you would say list the sectors of the Australian food industry. You would say the agriculture and fisheries, food processing, food service and catering, and food retail. If I should talk about two sectors of the Australian food industry, you might say one sector is agriculture and fisheries, where food is grown and raised. Agriculture is where we use the land, and aquaculture is using the water. And we use that to produce plants and animals. And when we produce plants, we have to do things like prepare the soil, plant, fertilize, water, harvest, and store. And when we raise animals, we need to feed them, breed them, treat their illness, and transport them. Another sector would be the food processing sector, where raw materials are changed to another product through a process called value adding. This is also the largest sector of the agri-food chain. So you can see how using all of this information that you've taken can help you to answer questions and to study what each of those means and get a better understanding. I hope this helped.